Hello everyone, my name is Holden Hardman, and my wife Jen and I are on our way to go see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'm really looking forward to it. We're going at 10:30 a.m. on Friday because we couldn't go to the Thursday night showing, but we're on our way this morning. I am so hyped, I'm so pumped and excited. This is Sam Raimi, who I love. If you've been following the channel, you know how much I love him. It's Doctor Strange, which was one of my favorite characters that was introduced in Phase 3 of the MCU. Been loving all the Doctor Strange stuff. I'm hoping that there's some connection to the What If animated series where we see this evil Doctor Strange. It looks like there was something teased in the trailer for that. Patrick Stewart potentially will be in this. We thought we heard his voice in the trailer as well. I'll try and calm it down. I'm pretty excited. How are you feeling going into this?
I'm most excited about the dark Doctor Strange, but then I'm also excited for the appearance of Wanda. I'm just interested to see like how they function in this movie together. I think there was a point where they alluded to some sort of friction, so that'll be interesting as well if they have that. But visually, it just looks really, really interesting. So I'm curious to see what this movie is gonna kind of open up, especially as far as like questions for the MCU, so.
All right, we're off to go to the movies.
2 hours later.
Okay, we just got back from the movie theater, saw Doctor Strange 2. Jen, why don't you go first? What did you think of the movie?
I loved that Wanda was pretty much central to this story. I'm a big fan of Wanda, the Scarlet Witch. She's probably one of my favorites. And I love that she was like point and center for this story. You know, I felt like this film, we really got to see the dark side of a lot of our heroes that are very beloved to us, but have had a little bit of a rocky past. And then to build off that, how deep they went with the character of Scarlet Witch. Her pain was so palpable, absolutely crystal clear in this movie. And, you know, they explored it before in WandaVision, but I think it was undeniable in this movie. In the beginning, once we figured out that Wanda was not gonna be classified as the hero, it was clear to me that it was the result of Wanda feeling like her pain was just completely ignored. The fact that she was not able to be with the people that she loved the most, and rightfully, that absolutely got to her as much as you can affect a human being. So I absolutely love that. But on the same token, while I liked that aspect of the movie, I can understand why some people that may have gone to see this were not necessarily expecting the bulk of the movie to be about that. So that is something that appeared in my mind, but as for me, I really enjoyed it. This movie also did a great job of showing on a scale Scarlet Witch's power. Literally every single person that went against her, I mean, pretty much failed miserably. One of my favorite scenes was where she was kind of making her raid on the temple. I loved that. Every moment of that was so entertaining for me, from her entrance to, you know, Doctor Strange trying to approach her and kind of giving that last ditch effort to get through to her and absolutely failing. Her destruction was enjoyable to watch just because, you know, we've seen Wanda kind of veer off, but in general, I feel like we always knew that she had a good heart. But in this movie, it was very much like, oh my God, I'm terrified of her. I was really, there was a couple scenes that I was scared. Especially when she took over the other Wanda's body, and she just had like blood all over her, and it was terrifying. So they did a good job at kind of displaying her anger, her emotions, and how that was coming through. I loved the idea of having somebody that can jump through universes. I like that this was something that Wanda wanted so badly. You know, because that was the one thing that was going to be able, in her eyes, to reunite her with the people that she loved. So I loved the idea of kind of introducing this new character, America Chavez, who's like a cute, like, teenager. I'm guessing she was a teenager. So I thought she was a great introduction. In the beginning, I was a little bit like, who's this chick? I ended up liking her, and I thought she was a great addition. The special effects looked really good. Now that's just to me. There's a couple scenes that were a little rough to me, like the raid on the temple when Wanda was kind of up in the air and she was kind of throwing around her powers. It looked a little rough, but I am absolutely okay with like overlooking that, and it all looked pretty good to me. Several scenes throughout, not only visually stunning, but also it felt very symbolic. We had the scenes where, to an outsider, Doctor Strange is literally fighting the dark side of himself, or Wanda is fighting the dark side of herself. And I love that idea. They did a great job at transforming characters visually to communicate an emotion. The Dark Doctor Strange has like no color in his face, literally very dark looking. His eyes had no brightness to them. His hair was very distorted. Immediately when I looked at him, I was like, I felt that emotion, like that's not my Doctor Strange. One of my favorite things about this movie was the reason that Wanda ended her destructive behavior was not what I predicted they were gonna do, which was some long talk from Doctor Strange or Wong or whoever it may be. Literally the reason that Wanda started this destructive chapter in her life to begin with, it was her children. You know, she saw what she was doing to them. She saw the fear in their eyes. Wanda being the person that she is, that, and I say Wanda, not the Scarlet Witch, because that's important. Seeing that in their faces affected her. And that was enough for her to say, I can't do this anymore. This is not going to help anyone. And this is only going to harm the people that I love, the people that I am trying to get back to. I'm so happy that they went that route and they didn't go the route of somebody else convincing her to do that. Loved the appearance by Dr. Xavier and Captain Carter. I love that they kind of had the heroes that I wouldn't have necessarily imagined them having in this movie. I fully expected them to go with somebody else, you know, a different version of Captain America or whatever it may be. But they chose kind of the underdogs, I guess, and I really enjoyed that. A couple things that I didn't understand was the two characters, the rubber guy and the guy that it looked like it was a trident on his cap. I did not know who those two characters were. I actually had to ask Holden, who are they? And for one of them, he said the Fantastic Four, and I said, okay, well, is the Fantastic Four in the MCU? And he goes, well, they are now. So we're gonna have to either watch their movie. I'm assuming they have movies to introduce them.
Remember, there was the two Fantastic Four movies from like 2005 that were Fox productions, but just kind of like with the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, they've now with the multiverse, I guess technically are part of it, which would be interesting because Chris Evans played one of the Fantastic Four members. He also played Captain America, so that'd be really interesting to see them come over. But yeah, we've been waiting for the Fantastic Four to be in the MCU universe. That character's name is Reed Richards, played by John Krasinski, which we'll get into later. The other character is a character named Black Bolt, who is one of the Inhumans.
What?
His name is Black Bolt. He speaks, and it's like this Black Bolt. They tried doing a TV series with him and some other characters, Medusa and some other ones. It didn't go anywhere. They actually did an IMAX premiere of like the first two episodes. I went to that back when that came out. The TV show failed, so I had to look it up. They brought back the same actor who played Black Bolt in that show, which I'm guessing most of you probably didn't even see. He was good in it, and so I'm glad that they brought him back even for that small moment. Anyway, so Reed Richards and Black Bolt.
One thing that I just didn't... Christine's role towards the end was it seemed a little out of place to me, like as far as like her just standing outside to where Dark Doctor Strange like falls to his death. That seemed a little out of place for me. Towards the end, it did get a little better when she was like helping protect Doctor Strange's body from the undead. I'm glad that she was in the movie. It was just a little out of place for me. I also have to mention how people die in this movie is just so great. I truly enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. I don't know about everybody else. I'm sure there's gonna be people that absolutely did not like it. But I thought that it was a pretty decent movie.
I'm gonna try to go through these in as efficient a manner as I can. So just from like the opening, I love that it just kind of starts us off in the action. Ponytail Strange and America running like through the multiverse with that big weird mummy looking monster trying to attack them. And it goes from that straight into like the, New York City with our Doctor Strange, and he's fighting and seeing the girl, and he wakes up and he has that dream, and we learn learn that when we dream about ourselves, we're actually dreaming about us or we're experiencing our alternate reality selves. I thought that was kind of cool because I've had some pretty weird dreams about things that I've done. So I was Spider-Man in a dream, obviously. So, that's cool. I liked the introduction to America Chavez because if you saw our trailer reaction to Doctor Strange, I wasn't all that familiar with her, but I liked that her basically she was just a victim of her powers. She couldn't control it, and she's just this girl on the run. I also thought it was interesting that there are no other versions of her in any other universe, so that was pretty cool. So Strange goes to Wanda, and this was something that was teased at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, him going to her, and she's like, I figured you'd come to talk about Westview or whatever, and he's like, I'm not here about that. We got this girl, some demons trying to get her. We gotta stop that. And she's like, it's actually me the whole time. I'm trying to get her so I can go to be with my kids. And we find out that she's going to be the antagonist of the movie. A lot of online people were speculating that Wanda was probably going to be the villain. And so that wasn't a huge shock to me. I guess to the extent of her malevolence was kind of a shock to me. Just how brutal she was. I definitely underestimated that. And I still think, because when I see a Marvel movie, I don't think they're going to go too dark, with a PG-13 rating. And I think our line as far as what constitutes appropriate for PG-13 and R is getting blurred with Evil Strange later. They're showing him falling onto the gate or whatever, getting stabbed.
I had no idea this was rated PG-13.
I mean, it's the MCU, so kids
they've never had an R.
Logan was R, but as far as in the MCU, no. Wanda just being covered with blood later on in the movie, so she was pretty rough. If you watch the channel, I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan. Probably people are thinking that I'm just going to rave on the movie. I have some criticisms of it, or at least the storytelling. One of those is that I felt like her growth in WandaVision, it ends with her willingly giving up her kids and giving up her life with Vision because she's tormenting these people, and she's kind of realizing that she needs to process her grief in a healthy way instead of allowing this fantasy to take control. And so I thought that was the point of WandaVision, her confronting that grief, realizing what is real, what isn't real, only to kind of have it not really matter in the end. At the end of WandaVision, I guess, when she's having that meditative moment and she hears her kids. So I think the prospect of them being real, actually real in another universe, spurred the whole thing and her desperation to get back. I wish that the ending, I guess, of WandaVision and her personal growth would have mattered more, because it didn't really seem to matter in the end. Seeing Wanda at near full power, or pretty close to full power, just wrecking everyone, was awesome. And I was not expecting her to just so casually be willing to kill so many people. We haven't seen that side of Wanda yet. We usually see her pushed to that point, but to where she is being the aggressor and the attacker, that was tough to see. The actress that played America Chavez got threats on social media in real life because her character is a lesbian, even though it was never a point in the movie. The only thing they showed was that in her universe she had 2 moms, and that was really the only
And she had the little pin on her jacket.
Oh, she did? Mm-hmm. It was the only indication, and so all that to say, don't be that douche that threatens and attacks a 15-year-old girl on social media. I would imagine that it would have been really fun for Benedict Cumberbatch to play the alternate versions of himself, some super evil and unhinged and his regular version. I would imagine that was a lot of fun for him, and it was fun to watch. One of the reoccurring themes I see with our Doctor Strange is temptation. Wanda tempts Strange at the beginning where they're having this conversation above Carmartage, and she's like, if you allow me to do this, I'll send you to a universe where you can be with Christine. And he said no, which I think is also a testament to his character growth throughout being with the Avengers and from the first Doctor Strange movie. Okay, some of the big cameo stuff. They go to a universe where we see John Krasinski come in as Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. So it's the first time we're seeing the Fantastic Four moment, and I was just like, partly because John Krasinski was a fan casting. I remember years ago people being like, John Krasinski would be great as Reed Richards. So to me, I feel like Kevin Feige or some of their producers just lurk on Reddit to see what people are generally in agreement with, and they're just like, okay, let's call him and have him be a part of it. So it's crazy that I feel like the fans, same thing with bringing Toby and Andrew in No Way Home, have real pull to get what we really want to see happen on the big screen. So that's That's just awesome. Black Bolt came back. I talked about how he was in the Inhumans show. Same actor, so that was cool. Seeing him in his full getup was really neat. Captain Carter, and then we saw Captain Marvel as well, where Carol Danvers did not get the power, but presumably she is just as powerful as Carol Danvers is Captain Marvel. Charles Xavier coming in on his yellow little wheelie thing. This was in reference, I think it was in reference to the 90s cartoon, because they even did the little that's all from the 90s cartoon. And then he did the whole thing like where you see like his mind waves. That's a meme online, so a lot of little funny references for like the super nerds out there to notice. But him coming out there in that chair was mind-blowing. It was awesome. And then of course seeing Wanda kill them all in like these incredibly creative ways. Reed Richards just gets like torn apart. Captain Carter gets like cut in half with her shield. Again, another thing about like the PG-13 rating. She beat Charles Xavier in her mind and like snaps his neck. No mention of the X-Men, no explanation of how that's really going to work. I don't think that they've really touched on it at all, and I don't know if they're still figuring out how they want to introduce it or the best way to, but he was there, clearly has powers, so I don't know what that means for the greater MCU. So I was expecting, well, I wasn't necessarily expecting, but what I was thinking would be cool to happen at the end, kind of how you mentioned, she sees her kids and how her kids reacted to her and they were being like afraid of her and seeing her for what she really was, like a villain. I was partially expecting White Vision from WandaVision to make an appearance, because if you remember, the fake Vision like unlocked his memories, unlocked his mind, and he flew away at the end of that show. I was kind of expecting him to make an appearance and be like, Wanda, it's me, I'm here, I'm alive, what are you doing type of thing. I thought it would be cool to have him made an appearance, but he did not. I think that their way of going about it with the kids seeing her was, I guess, a good wake-up call for her. Easily one of the darkest Marvel movies that we've gotten. I also thought it was interesting that Doctor Strange clarified a difference between magic and sorcery, saying that witches use sorcery and they use magic, implying that sorcery is more inherently evil and magic can be good or evil. So I just thought that was interesting. There was straight up necromancy in this, with Doctor Strange possessing his dead corpse from another reality. The fact that I can say that in 2022 about a Marvel movie is awesome. Wanda points out that Stephen Strange is being a hypocrite for doing the dream walking thing. Also reminded me of, in the first Doctor Strange, how the Ancient One was being a hypocrite for drawing power from the dark dimension, but saying that nobody else could do that. Do the ends justify the means? And I think that this, him doing the night walking thing, is going to play a huge factor later. And I think we saw a little bit of that with the post-credit scene, because as Mordo says, the bill always comes due. Not without consequence doing that type of stuff. Mentioned earlier, our universe is strange and his overcoming temptation being a recurring theme. In the end, even with the permission of Wong, Strange did not steal America's powers, even when Wong was like, that's the only way, do it, and he didn't. And I thought that was great, because I think Strange is from the other universes, and we know Strange, the very first Strange we saw, was trying to steal her power, so ours didn't. So I really like that, even though it was probably the easier way. A little bit of growth from Wanda. So previously Wong was like confronting Wanda, and he's like, isn't it enough to know that your children and you are together in another universe and that they're loved? And she's like, no, and like throws him away. And then at the end, when the Scarlet Witch is facing like the Wanda from the other universe who has the kids, and she's like, just know that they'll be loved. In the end, it did end up being enough for her. Wanda kills herself by destroying the temple. She destroys every copy of the Book of the Damned across every universe. It's implied that she's dead, but show me the body. Show me the body.
Show me the autopsy.
Show me the autopsy. Love some of the traditional Sam Raimi cinematography that we got, with like the camera moving around and coming around from like the point of view of the demon or the evil or whatever. Along with, there always needs to be something done with some book. There's some book that has some power, needs to be destroyed. They need to recite some spell. That's very Sam Raimi. Bruce Campbell made his appearance there. He was in the post-credit scene paying homage to the Evil Dead 2, where his hand is like talking to him or whatever. Charlize Theron makes an appearance, says that she needs Strange's help because Strange caused an incursion. If you notice in the portal she opened, it was the Dormammu's homeworld. I ended up looking up who she was later, but I'll probably keep that to a minimum because I kind of want to see it just fresh. There were some moments throughout the movie that seemed to kind of be checklists. The crazy cameo, like with John Krasinski, just making everyone go, oh yeah, oh whoa! You know, those moments are becoming more and more frequent, which I enjoy because it's a lot of fan service, but it did feel a little formulaic here. Signature Strange sequence of him flying through different universes and it being very like ethereal and astral, and again, I love those moments, but they do seem to just kind of be a checklist type of thing nowadays. A signature, there's no other way moment. I'm still very curious about how that universe with Reed Richards and Professor X and all them were able to defeat Thanos using the Book of Vishanti when that book existed in our universe too. And of all the 14 million possible things that could have happened, Stephen Strange never thought to use that book or find the book or something. So anyway, it's all that to say, I would love to see that universe's events of Endgame because they were on Titan in that universe, so they all had to get there. So I would love to have seen how that went down. It's not my favorite Marvel movie. I do think it is a solid entry into the Phase 4 Marvel universe. I appreciate that they're kind of lessening the quippiness and the humor of the Marvel movies. They're still there. I think that they're a little bit more appropriately timed. They're a little less frequent. I feel the same way about Moon Knight. I feel like they're letting the drama play out and they're not cheapening it. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really want to go see it again. From a couple of things I've seen after we watched it, we've only been home for a little bit, it seems like a lot of the reception is kind of divided. Some people saying they loved it, some people saying it was okay, some people not really liking it at all. So I'd be really curious to know your thoughts. So make sure you leave us a comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts. I have my rating in mind. What would you rate this movie?
For me, there was really no breakaway from the darkness of this movie. They had like the short moment with the wedding and then when they sat down to lunch. Other than that, it was pretty constant darkness. I like that. One thing that I didn't mention that I thought of, I liked the dark Doctor Strange or the corrupted Doctor Strange, and that was a moment that I was looking forward to, but I don't feel like I got enough of that. There was minor things throughout, but for me, I'm willing to overlook those. They don't really affect the end score for me. So I think I'm gonna go with a 9.
Wow, I'm glad to hear that yours was that high. I know that some people are
That means his won't.
No, mine is high. I think that there will be some, or I'll be accused of having some Raimi bias. I do love Sam Raimi's movies. I'm trying to think like if it wasn't about, he wasn't the one that directed it, but it still turned out the way that it was. I still had some criticisms of it, but a lot of it, I love that it was just a lot of action, a lot of really great scenes between Doctor Strange and Evil Strange, and the moments with Christine where he doesn't end up with her, and he had that moment of closure in that other universe where he got to just be like, I love you. I've been holding that back, and I can't tell the you in my universe because they're married now and it's inappropriate, but I love you. I loved all that. Those really, really great moments of redemption. I would love to do a video just about like symbolism that I saw, and I kept thinking of Little Light Studios. If you've watched my God in the MCU movies, because there was a lot of that. I mean, even at the beginning where Stephen turns water into wine at the wedding, which was like a miracle that Jesus did. And I was like, Little Light Studios is going to say something about that. I know it. But I would love to delve more into like the symbolism of a movie like that. So maybe we can do that. Anyway, for me, not a perfect movie, solid entry, I feel like. I would go with an 8.5. I think pretty solid. I'm actually surprised yours was higher than mine. I thought mine was going to be higher.
Another reason that my score is so high is because I feel like throughout the MCU, Wanda and Doctor Strange have really been two of my favorite besides Iron Man. To have a movie where those two characters are thrown in there and we get just non-stop darkness and killing, to have all of that kind of bundled into one movie is like my dream. All that was missing was Iron Man, and it would have been perfect.
There were rumors that Tom Cruise was going to play Iron Man, I think, because there were some rumors that he was going to play him back in the day.
Don't do it.
But they didn't end up doing that. I was actually wondering that too. I was like, well, where's Iron Man in any of these? But anyway, we appreciate you guys watching. We'd love to know your comments down below, whether you loved it, hated it, or somewhere in the middle. So leave us a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like. It does help the channel out a lot. Subscribe. You'll be notified next time we do a video. And check out Patreon. You'll get early access to select stuff, full-length watch-alongs to some other movies we do, and other great stuff over there. But as always, Jen and I appreciate you watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Take care.